So 5 seconds of context before you get into the rest of this video. What do I do for a living and what are some things that you're gonna notice about this video? So what I do for a living on my day job is that I do marketing consulting and content creation for outdoor and tactical and firearms brands. You may have already figured that out, maybe you hadn't, but that's what I do to make money to pay my bills. Occasionally, I'll make pieces of media like the one you're about to watch for a client, in this case Vertx, that for whatever reason just didn't align with their calendar. It was no longer a needed piece of media, and so it just got scrapped. So what I'm going to do with this piece of media is I'm going to post it. I have their permission to do it. They're excited about me doing it. It just didn't work with their channels at the time. So I'm going to post it. You're going to watch it. But the thing you'll probably notice is that occasionally I forget to ever name the company, Vertx, for the two bags because, it was going to live on their channel. Also, obviously, there's bias because originally this was designed to be, a piece that would live on their channels. I still use it. This is 100% honest, way I use these products. This isn't something that's staged or faked, but it obviously was intended to, help sell products. So there's the full disclosure there. And then lastly, you'll hear me use a couple of possessive adjectives. So I won't say, the Vertx map panel, I might say our map panel, right? Because originally this was going to live on, either their website or their YouTube or whatever it might be. So that's the context. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Thanks. Hey guys, I just finished up a 2-day training event where I was living entirely out of my Bugout bag, which is made up of the 80-liter RLT Duffel and the 22-liter brand new Gamut pack. Now, I was getting all this equipment cleaned up and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to show you guys how I have everything set up and staged. This all lives in one enclosure inside of the duffel pack, and talk about the philosophy and the thoughts that went into the way I selected a lot of this equipment. So we're gonna jump into that right now. Let's talk about what the philosophy is behind, at least the way I approach a Bugout bag, which a little bit of a misnomer. I think a lot of times when people think about a Bugout bag, they think about the stuff they would need to live in the woods, which is not really realistic for my specific use case. I don't live in a really rural environment. I live in a pretty urban environment. And as we've seen in years past, a lot of times when it comes to people who are leaving their house in some type of a disaster, typically it's to either help out their buddies, protect their small business that they own during times of civil unrest, or maybe maintaining some sort of security posture because of municipalities and police departments are overwhelmed. Or, guys are just traveling one town over to be offset from some type of natural disaster, hurricane, tornado that has taken place in their area. So you're not going to see stuff in here for, making campfires in the middle of the woods. Most of this stuff is centered around urban defense and just maintaining a low profile. Anytime there's a disaster, we sometimes see the worst in people and what people are capable of. And so a lot of this equipment, some of it is for security, but most of it is actually just for being able to basically mind my own business, right? Especially if I'm helping out a buddy, loss of power, loss of water, or some sort of civil unrest. So we're just going to jump into it. At its core, I start with the 80-liter duffel. I'm going to take this pack out right now. It does go back in there, but it goes back in there later. There's a very specific order in which all the equipment goes in here, and so I'm going to get that pulled out. We'll go over it here in a second. And the 80-liter duffel, the thing I like about it is that for the most part, it's just a giant compartment. There's a couple partitions on the sides and bottom, which we'll talk about here in a second, but for the most part, it's just one giant open compartment, which I really liked. That's something I wanted for my setup here. The biggest compartment is this extra partition here. And, you could use it for something like boots or maybe like a jacket, just something to separate for if you're using this for clothes, keep dirty and clean separate. What I use this kind of like boot compartment for is my helmet, right? So I have a helmet. This is a ballistic helmet. I'm not really keeping this in here for use with any type of I'm not going to be doing any direct action raids on terrorist compounds with this thing. This is mostly just used as a mounting platform for my comms stuff with my OpsCore amps and my night vision. My night vision isn't for doing any cool guy operator stuff. It's mostly because if there's any type of disaster, there's going to be a loss of power, and I don't necessarily want to be using any type of flashlights or big area lighting in order to light up an area, look around, navigate, walk around at night. I want to mind my own business as much as possible, and this tool is the superpower that lets me do that. So what I do is that night vision lives in this Faraday bag, and I just stuff it inside of the helmet, and the whole helmet goes right inside of this little compartment here. And then in here, I also keep a separate extra set of batteries for the night vision. So that's what I use that compartment for. It's very useful. Getting into the main compartment, some of the things I put in here, just as a starter, I keep a blanket. Now, like I said, you're not gonna find a lot of camping supplies in my Bugout bag, but why do I have a blanket in here? This is in case I'm going to help out another guy, where maybe we're holding security on his house or his small business, and if we have some sort of security guard rotation going on because we're there for an extended period of time, I can just crash on a buddy's couch or on the floor or something like that. So this isn't exactly 5-star hotel type of sleep quality, but I'm at least able to have some comfort wherever I'm crashing at. And this thing takes up pretty much no volume, and it also gives a little bit of padding for my other equipment, so that's why I have it in here. Now, getting into this is my chest rig. So this is a 34 Alpha from Spirited Systems. They make a lot of cool gear. I actually only keep some batteries in this Theorem Cell Vault 5M for all my equipment, and some magazines. All the pouches are actually empty. The idea behind this kit is I want to be able to scale up and not have all of my gear go into a chest rig. There's a time and place to use a chest rig. Obviously, there is a time and place because I have it in here and I plan to use it. But I don't want all of my gear to live in here. I want most of my administrative task gear and my food to all live in the pack, which we'll get into in a bit. But what is nice about this is that I can throw all the stuff in here and I can wear this, so that way I have all my reloads, my water, and everything if I want to do that. But for the most part, I'm going to use stuff in my backpack. That's why this thing is basically empty. I also keep in here a IFAK, just a basic IFAK, has a tourniquet, all the normal contents that you could get with any type of like North American rescue. IFAK lives in here. Now there is a zipper compartment on the inside in here. And in here is where I put all of my water tools. Now, this is not a comprehensive set of tools for any type of water manufacturing if there's no running water, but at minimum, I can collect some dirty water. I have a couple inline filters to replace it. I have an adapter for one of those inline filters, some electrolytes. Lastly is a personal water decon kit from Cana Provisions. This has everything I need, all of those items together to make just a little bit of drinking water to fill up a Nalgene. And it's just for one person. It's not really meant for anything big, but I wanted a little bit of water security stuff in there, so went ahead and included that in that one pouch. Now, along the interior of the RLT duffel, it's actually loop lined. First of all, this is the map panel, right? The MOLLE adapter panel. And I just have it set up with a few different things on here so that way you can see how I could use this. I have a Blue Force gear, little magazine pouch. Right now I just have a distraction device in it. I have a Theorem Cell Vault that has a couple extra batteries for my carbine, right? So I can easily access them. And then I have a Spiritus TKO pouch, and that's what I actually house the suppressor for my carbine inside of. So what's nice about this is it's always in the same place. I do take my suppressor off, so that way it's easier to fit my carbine in here. So obviously I need a place to put the suppressor. That just Velcros right on the inside. Right next to it, I use one of our overflow pouches. And in here is where I put all of our comms gear for the different comm systems that I might be using. Now, I have a couple different radios that I have access to and that my team uses. So what I do is I just put my PTT, all of the adapters, and different ancillary equipment, microphones, USB cables for my EUD. All of it just goes in the overflow pouch. That makes it super easy. Keep track of it, and I can pull it out and I can use whatever I need as needed. I also keep the little earwig and another set of batteries for my headset. This doesn't fit in the overflow pouch, but it's a headband for my ear pro. So if I wanted to take it off my helmet and just use a headband, that's an option as well. But my overflow pouch just Velcros right on the inside. There you can see that is exactly how the overflow pouch and the map panel all fit inside of there. Now, getting into these side pouches, because I actually do use these side pouches for a few pieces of gear, what is cool about them is they're double zippered, so can see I have a duffel style handle on the side here. What I can do is I can either use one zipper and have them put away, or I can use how I had it originally, the other zipper, so that way I can actually use the handles. So you get the agility either way. There's also shoulder straps, which I'll talk about here in a second. But in one of these panels, what do I put? I put this is a power bank. I've Velcroed on here a charger for different flashlight batteries, and then a pouch that has some cables on here. This is a Microbat Systems pouch, and just inside I have some different cables in there. But this is just a little power bank. I highly advise, if you're planning on doing any type of bugging out, or maybe having something like this where you could help out your friends if there's any type of civil unrest, that you have some power so that way you can charge things like radios, flashlights, cell phone. It's just good stuff to have. So also in here, I keep the charger for my headlamp. My headlamp does use rechargeable batteries. It can use AAA's as well, but I like being able to recharge it. Got some duct tape. The duct tape is actually, like I said, I want to be able to mind my own business and not draw attention to people if there's any type of civil unrest or natural disaster, just so that way I'm not projecting any type of signature. So duct tape is for covering up any type of lights or screens or anything that I can't turn off the visible light it's emitting. And then on that note, I keep a chem light bundle in here as well. You can use chem lights for a variety of different things, especially when you're in a team. But the big reason why I keep a few is just for area lighting. So a little bit of lighting so I can walk around, know what different areas are inside of a structure without turning on all the lights and advertising to everyone that the lights are on. That's why some of the different colors are here. You can use different colors to mark different areas of the structure. Then on the other side over here, another pocket. Again, you can tuck away the duffel handle straps if you want to, but I always have them out. This is where I'm going to put a little bit of hygiene stuff. Pretty basic stuff. If I'm helping out a buddy, we're protecting their property or small business that they own, I'm not going to stay for weeks and weeks on end. It might just be 2 or 3 days. You can get by on the clothes you're wearing on your back. I do keep a set of underwear and socks in here, just so that way I can change those out. And then I also keep a set of wet wipes, just so that way I can give myself a little bit of a scrub down, keep from getting too grimy. And then the last thing that'll normally go in here would be some sort of field top, right? If I'm using a field top as a uniform between me and my guys. If you're not doing that, the other thing I really like is I like our Vertx flannels. So they have different pockets. You can store a lot of equipment in there. You can store things like extra chem lights, batteries, maps, commo cards. Any type of information you need quick access to, you can put it in something like a flannel and just leave that in here as well. So the last thing that's going to go inside of the duffel itself is going to be my carbine. This one is a 416 with a 10.5-inch barrel, so very short. I have a loft folder on here, which makes it even easier to get in the bag. Like I said, I do have a suppressor for here. It won't fit in the bag with a suppressor, so that's why I have the extra pouch. I do keep a 20-round magazine in it. That just makes it sit flush inside of the bag, which is nice. And I also will toss a 30-rounder in there as well, so that way if I need to quickly reload or just throw that in the back pocket, I can as well. So there you see how it all fits nicely. Put that inside of the duffel. Cool, so it's mostly packed up now. As you can see, I've got everything in there, and there's still an extra cavity in here for my pack. Now, why do I put a pack inside of a pack and play Vertx Russian nesting dolls? Well, the reason is I like that it's just one pack. I can just grab and go, throw it in my car, head out the door. I don't have to worry about several different additional pieces. Now, if the situation dictates that I need something a little bit more specialty, like grabbing a plate carrier, I can grab a plate carrier as if that's a need. I also keep a lot of additional gear in my car, but for the most part, it's just grab and go, kind of single solution. This solves 80% of my problems, and it's just one item, and it keeps everything neat and organized. Helps me maintain a little bit of discipline, so that way anything I need in an emergency, even if I'm not leaving the house, still exists in one area. So let's get into the pack here. Again, the concept is that I do almost everything out of this backpack, and then if I need to scale up to the chest rig, I have the chest rig in here as an option. The chest rig would be a little bit more overt, right? Maybe it's me as a sentry protecting a piece of business or a property for somebody, or some sort of civil unrest scenario. But for the most part, if it's just a little bit of chaos. I'm just going to be living out of the backpack, which is our brand new 22-liter Gamut bag. This front pocket is new for the Gamut series of packs, and what I have it for right now is supporting the carbine. So I have 2 magazine reloads in here, another distraction device, so if I just wanted to create distance, get a little bit of standoff from, you know, people who might be harassing me, or I just want people to go away, leave me alone, have a distraction device in here for that, and then I have a reload for my inside the waistband firearm that I carry with me at all times. On the top, I keep in this little pouch here just some snacks, a little bit of sugar to get me by if I'm just, you know, away from the home a little bit longer than anticipated. I also keep my headlamp in here, so it's super easy to get to. And then in the sunglasses pouch, I don't keep sunglasses. I actually keep a couple different signaling options here. So this is a RGB, I need to recharge it, but this is an RGB little light. It goes on like a dog collar or something like that. But the reason I have it on here is I can click to whatever color I need, and I can undo this daisy chain, and I have a buzz saw, right? So a buzz saw is a great way to signal for people. I can do that visually with the red, green, or blue options on the light itself. I'm going to leave that out actually so that way I can recharge it real quick. But I also have a krill light. The krill light is infrared, so only people with night vision could see this. But what is nice about it is I can turn it on and I can turn it off all with a twist. I'm not using IR chem lights that are kind of you know, single use, and I don't really get to turn it on or off. I like being able to control that. So a couple of signaling devices in the top. On the side here is where I can actually put Nalgene's, and so I'm going to put my nice little Cana Provisions Nalgene on this side pouch. Now let's go ahead and get into the pack. The pack is for the most part empty. I like having space in here so that way if there's any type of extra equipment or any kind of quick changes I need to make, I have the space to do that. It's not just jam-packed inside of here. In the biggest laptop sleeve, I keep some utensils and a Mountain House meal. I have a camp stove in my car, so if I want to make that, I'll use the little you know, jet boil that I have in my truck. If that's not an option, I do have a stripped down MRE in here. I really hate the taste of these. These are not fun, but you can live off of all the contents and not use a stove. So if I can avoid using this, I will, because these do not taste very good. I don't know why people like them. I do not, but they're in here just as an option. I have an extra little soft container for water, so if I want to plus up some water, that is an option. And then there's 2 zippers inside of the Gamut 22-liter pack. And the bottom one is where I keep some additional signaling stuff. So these are just cut down strips of VS17 panel, and they have a little bit of a rubber band on here, so that way I could do things like I could mark a doorway, let everybody know like, hey, you know, when you get to this house or you know, maybe this campus, look for the doorknob that has VS17 on the doorknob, right? So I also have some that don't have that on there. I can just tie it to something like a tree branch, but a little bit of high-vis signaling. And then I also, just for administrative stuff, I keep some more rubber bands. These rubber bands are great for, you know, if a buddy needs to manage the sling on their carbine, if guys are using like a Baofeng UV5R and their PTT isn't wanting to stay in place, I can rubber band it. There's a few different options that I can use rubber bands for, so that's why I keep them in there. On the next pouch, I keep a lot of admin stuff. So some extra foamies if I want to have foamies or I need to give these out to people. A lighter, right? Great, great multi-use item. I have a notebook, like a field notes style notebook in here, but I also keep some range cards. So if you're gonna have any type of like security posture at a location and guys are gonna take the time to assign positions and they want to start notating things about, you know, whatever vector they're responsible for, you can use note cards, note things out, give different objects in here specific ranges, so that way you have some ranging and dope on you know, whatever position. And I have a few in here for any type of positions people might be taking up. Also have a ferrocerium rod, just another way to make a fire. I know I joked that we're not going to be making fires in the middle of the woods, and I have a couple different ways to make a fire, but you know, they're just good multi-use items. And then we also have on the admin pockets side here, I keep a Noxon, which is a flashlight, multi-use flashlight, has 2 different outputs on it. This is a new Mod Light product. I've been very impressed with these. These are really affordable. I really like having one in my pack. So if you're looking for a good light that maybe you want to just allocate towards your go bag and doesn't live in your pocket, or you don't want it to live in your pocket, and you don't want to spend a massive amount of money, the Noxon is a great budget option. And then a couple different colored pens. I got red and I got black. Be careful if you're using a red headlamp because red ink won't show up. But if you need to notate a different color, red is in there. And then I keep a couple Sharpies. So for this configuration, I don't do anything with the CCW pack. Most of the time my CCW lives on me, but if I wanted to take it off to sleep right on a buddy's couch, I can just toss it in there. And this whole pack just fits inside of the RLT Duffel. And that is my entire go bag. So this can just live staged, in my office, in my closet, in my garage, and I know everything is in here for me to handle 80% of the issues that we might run into in today's day and age. Last thing I'm going to talk about is the RLT Duffel actually also has shoulder straps, so I can wear this like a backpack. I actually do like this. I think this is a great feature, even though 95% of the time I'm going to be just carrying it like a duffel and throwing it in my truck. The other thing I've used this for is I have flexed this into different roles for carrying other specialty equipment. So at this last exercise I went to, we were going to launch a drone, and so we needed to carry a drone to a specific location, launch from that specific location, and accomplish whatever we needed to do with that drone, and then we needed to return back to where everybody was sleeping and staying out of. And I actually used this bag, I took all the contents out of it, and I used the bag itself to house the case for the drone, the controller, and all the extra batteries. Did about a kilometer movement with the drone in the RLT Duffel, and was able to get to where we needed to and just kind of work out of the duffel. So I really like the shoulder straps as well, even if the times I'm using them is just a little bit more specialty. So that's it, guys. That is my RLT Duffel that I have set up as my bug out bag. Oh, I almost forgot. One last thing I wanted to talk about. This is my Vertx Contingency Duffel. I have owned this for 7 years. It was the original bug out bag, at least that was the role I was using it in before the RLT line came out, and I've used it a lot. This thing has been coast to coast. My wife and I have used it in a ton of vacations and camping trips, and even though it's starting to get a little bit dirty around some of these areas here, there's not really been any fraying of the fabric, and there's never been any times where the stitching has come apart. So when you buy Vertx, you are buying quality. Like I said, I bought this like 7 years ago, and it's doing great. I just was able to transition to the RLT Duffel because this thing had a few pouches that I wasn't necessarily using it in the bug out bag roll. So there you are. Buy with confidence. You can see the quality you get, getting almost a decade of use out of this thing, and it still looks pretty close to brand new. So hope that answers some questions for you guys. As always, have a good day.